Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're talking about an absolutely bonkers card. This card came from Duskborn. I am really surprised that this is still only 94 cents. It is an absolutely crazy card in so many different commanders, so many different commander decks. It is a rare, which means that, you know, it's rare to get. It does have a borderless version of it, so you know you've got a little bit more chance to be able to get it because of that, but it's still a rare card, so I cannot imagine this stays at 94 cents, especially, you know, after people start picking up on how strong it is. So this is the card that we're talking about here, the Dazzling Theater / Prop Room. So the Dazzling Theater side here is 3 and a white, and that's going to give all your creature spells Convoke, and then the other side, the Prop Room, is 2 and a white, and that's going to make it so you untap each creature you control during each other player's untap step. So I'm going to talk about a number of different things here, why each side is good, the pros and cons of rooms and this room in particular, and then I'll talk about some different commanders and different other synergistic cards to kind of go alongside it. But maybe I'll convince you guys to go pick up a copy. I've actually just picked up, well, I think I picked up 4 different copies. I have that many decks that this works really well in that I just want as many copies as possible. So first of all, some benefits of it being a room. So benefits and cons here. So one of the pros is that you essentially, when you cast it, you can choose which of the two sides is going to work best for you at the time. So, you know, if the Dazzling Theater is more useful at the moment, you can cast it for that Dazzling Theater side. If the Prop Room is, then you can do it for that side. However, the better part of this as well is that once you cast it, you can then immediately unlock the other one. It's essentially like a modal enchantment. So think like Outpost Siege, like how great is Outpost Siege? This is kind of like that, how you've got like the 2 different options that you can choose at the time, but it's like if you cast it for one option and then you could choose to unlock the other option later. It's really great in my opinion. It's also an enchantment, which means it's less likely to be removed than a creature too. So, you know, Prop Room, there's a bunch of different creatures that do very similar things to that. And having it on an enchantment means, in my opinion, that it's less likely to get hit by removal, especially like, you know, board wipes and stuff. There's also ways to be able to give enchantment, Shroud and Hexproof and stuff along those lines. So if you've got a deck that can give those things to your enchantments, then boom, now it's going to stick around for ages. You've got everything untapping. You're getting all your creatures out. Oh man, it's going to be so crazy. Another pro is that these synergize very well, right? Like the 2 sides of it synergize very well. It's like if you could cast 2 enchantments in a row that enable each other. Like, you know, if Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood were tied onto the same enchantment, it would be crazy. So as for some cons, obviously, you know, there is going to be some cons for them, both being on the same thing. It means that 2 powerful abilities are both on the same enchantment, which means a single target enchantment removal can stop that and remove, you know, a big kind of mana dump that you've done. So this is going to cost 7 mana for both sides of it. And that's going to be a huge pain if it does get removed. And also, you know, if it does happen to get flickered, or if it has a put onto the battlefield effect. So like, you know, if it's like you put a enchantment from your graveyard onto the battlefield, then none of the rooms are going to be open. You then need to go and actually open up one of the sides of the rooms later on, which is a bit annoying, but it's avoidable, right? Like I think the pros severely outweigh the cons here. So starting off with the Dazzling Theater side, again, this is a rare, so, you know, I can't understand why it's so cheap. The left-hand side here, Dazzling Theater, it's a unique effect. Nothing else gives all of your creature spells Convoke. There is one that gives legendary creatures Convoke. There's some that give, like, you know, cards that you cast from exile Convoke, or non-creature spells Convoke, but there's nothing that gives all of your creature spells Convoke. It's only 4 mana as well, which is relatively cheap. So even like this card alone, this Dazzling Theater side, I would run this in a deck. In fact, in my Balin deck, I think I've actually run the one that gives all of my legendary creatures Convoke, because it's just so strong in that. This is going to be like easily can replace that. There's no hoops to jump around here or anything like that. They don't need to be from your hand or from exile or anything. They're just any creature spells you Convoke from anywhere. And it also makes it just so much easier to cast your big creatures if you've got a bunch of little ones as well, right? Like if you've got Anna Bakal out and she's pumping out gnomes over and over again, and then all of a sudden, you know, you can Convoke with those gnomes. You could just cast some really bonkers stuff with that. Next, we've got the Prop Room. So this is like a Drum Bellower, Quest for Renewal, or Seedborn Muse on an enchant, right? Look at the prices of all 3 of those. They're all at least, you know, $6 more. It's yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. There's no hoops to jump through either, like quests. It's just straight up, the turn it comes down, it's already active, boom. It also just enables so much because you can attack and then untap on the next opponent, like each other player's untap step as well. You know, it's crazy the things you could do this, especially if you give your creature spells like flash, right? You could flash out creatures on opponent's turn. You could do some really, really crazy stuff with this. It's actually really, really strong in my opinion. All right. At the moment, you're sitting at 94 cents for this version, and then the borderless version is a 123. It's a rare, again, so it's a rare. I can't understand why it's so cheap. Maybe I'm completely missing something here. Maybe the fact that it's got a borderless version in it means that, you know, it's dropping more likely, so people are getting more of them. But this alone, like, there are so many different decks I'll talk about that I can run it in, even like my Voja deck, to be honest. Like, it's crazy. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you share the video around and everything like that before we get into this next part. You know, this could be the last video you see from me because the algorithm screws you over and you never get to see my amazing content anymore. So make sure you do. I don't hype myself up too much, but, you know, about my YouTube channel, I'll do that for. So the other thing is that we have started doing exclusive, like early release deck techs over on Patreon as well. For as little as $5 a month, you can get early access to this kind of thing where, you know, I'm going to go through, we're going to do like a budget deck tech, and it will just be early access, you know. So I kind of, at the moment, I don't think I'm going to keep anything ever exclusive to only behind a paywall or anything. I'd rather, you know, even if I keep it a week exclusive for early access for Patreons, I might do that. I haven't decided entirely on the kind of how long or anything, but yeah, make sure you check out the video and stuff. And if you could support on Patreon, that would be absolutely amazing. So some commanders for this Balin, right? This is going straight into my Balin deck. It is crazy with Balin because it's just going to make it so that you could cast so many things so easy. You're going to be pumping out so many tokens with Balin that being able to tap those tokens down to just cast bigger creatures and stuff is just going to go incredibly well. Castler as well, right? This is going to make it because it's going to give all your creature spells convoke. Now all your creature spells now also scry you to and draw a card. And then you could, you know, convoke more. And I'm actually considering building this. I've got the precon sitting there for it. I'm considering building the actual precon up thanks to this card now because it's just crazy. We've also got stuff like Zinnia, right? Like Zinnia is going to create a lot of different mini creatures and stuff. You can then use those mini creatures that are doing stuff. So like Agate Instigator, for example, you don't need to attack with Agate Instigator. It's just sitting there on the board generating value. Now it's generating value because it's also a mana dork. We've got the Jolly Balloon Man. Now, while the Jolly Balloon Man alone is not going to be huge because, you know, he's just going to create one balloon and then it dies, there are so many combos with the Jolly Balloon Man that are getting heaps of balloons out. Being able to then convoke with those balloons or convoke with the things that you are turning into balloons as well, right? Like maybe you've got like a Mondrak out and you don't want to attack with Mondrak because, you know, although you need a way to make it not legendary, you don't want to attack with summoned creatures, right? So you can tap them instead to cast bigger things to then make balloons with Jolly Balloon Man. So there's some other synergies, right? Like Tender Shoot Dryad, Illustrious Wanderglyph. From them, you're going to be pumping out so many creatures. Like Tender Shoot Dryad's going to be one, like you're going to create 4 Saprolings for each turn cycle. Now that is 4 that you can then tap down to then create bigger creatures. Illustrious Wanderglyph, very similar with the gnome artifacts instead. In fact, you know, they're essentially the same card, right? Except this is artifact creatures. This is just Saprolings. So Illustrious Wanderglyph is just insanely great with this deck. And, you know, they're both in white, so you could put them into so many different things. I think I actually have both of these in Balin. Yeah, I have both of these in Balin. So this is going to be bonkers with my Balin deck. I can't believe this. I just can't believe that this card is only 94 cents. So I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. Let me know down below. Have a great day and goodbye.